Oh my goodness. Back to the shop build this week. I said in the last video that I would do another update after the garage doors paint and the porch work was complete. So let's jump into these last 3 major steps. Starting off with the garage doors, I had the incredible opportunity to partner with garage door manufacturer Wayne Dalton on my 2 bay doors leading out into the porch of my shop. I have been so excited about this part of the shop because the garage doors are their new 8300 series, which have windows in the garage panels. Which of course not only looks cool, but it also lets in a lot of natural light and allows me to see out even when the doors are down. These doors are made to be durable with 2 layers of steel, but are also the best insulated residential garage door that Wayne Dalton carries, with an R value of just over 12. Of course, there are several styles and color variations to choose from, not only on the door, but also on the window placement and visibility level as well. I went with full windows that are completely clear and see-through since I'm out in the country and I have such a nice view facing this direction. These doors do need to be installed by professionals, so pro installers from my local area came to install the doors, which only took about 3 hours from start to finish. Big thank you to Wayne Dalton for supporting my shop build. I'm absolutely in love with the doors. If you'd like to find out more information on them, then I have left you a link down in the description below. The next contractors on the schedule were the painters, and this was such an intense step. Probably out of everything on the build, picking the shop colors was the most stressful thing. Since I modeled my shop in SketchUp, I used the model to play around with different color variations before actually going to the paint store to pick out paint samples. I narrowed it down to 4 different schemes, put it to a vote on my Instagram. Then, like a true woman, I disregarded everybody's opinion and went a completely different direction. I ended up going with 2 tones of green, a lighter on top and a darker on bottom, which is very much to my taste, but will also allow it to blend in better to the surroundings once I actually get to landscaping. The painters used a spray rig to knock out the job, which overall took a team of 3 guys 2 full days. They first caulked everything, every butt joint on the lap siding, all of the trim, and even every joint on that board and batten. And when I say caulking, they actually use Titebond Ultimate MP sealant, which is rated to last up to 50 years. It is a little bit more pricey, but considering that all of the siding and trim is rated at 50 years, I like everything going on the shop having a similar life expectancy so that something's not giving out long before something else does. After spraying the lap siding, then they moved down to the bottom and sprayed that bottom wainscoting. Then coming back with a roller and a brush to do the trim and also the touch-up work for any of the overspray spots. Picking out the trim color was probably the most difficult. I first wanted to keep the trim the same color as the wainscoting, but when I switched to the green on bottom, I was then debating between having white trim to lighten it all up or brown to match the roof and fascia. Ultimately, I went with white for all of the trim and the soffit, and I am completely happy with the decision on all of the colors. Doesn't it look like a completely different building being painted? It makes my heart swell. I love it. All right, no more contractors. The absolute last big major labor task on the shop build to-do list is to deck the underside of the porch. First things first, I used my spray rig to apply a semi-transparent stain to all of the cedar posts and those beams. This will keep them from bleaching out from the sun over time. For the top beams, I changed the orientation of the fan on the sprayer and had Cody drive the scissor lift as I sprayed, and Brian move my rig down with us. Now I did the spraying first so that I wouldn't have to worry about protecting the decking from the overspray. This way I could just get overspray right onto the bottom side of the rafters of the porch that will very shortly be covered up by the decking. Then for the decking, I went with a tongue and groove beadboard material that comes in 4x8 sheets. You can get these boards in white, but either way, since I went with a trim that is actually an off-white with a slight green tint, all of the boards were painted to match the trim prior to actually installing these boards. This of course is a huge pain, but not as big of a pain as trying to paint them once they're attached overhead. I wanted the beadboard direction to be perpendicular to the lap siding. So we started by throwing up full 4x8 sheets up against the shop. We found out very quickly that this is a job that can be done with 2 people on the lift, but it is far easier on everybody if there are 3 people on the lift to set it in place and to stick it. These are tongue and groove boards, so the direction they are passed up and placed do matter. All three of us would line it up, then Brian would stick the building in first, then I would stick my end. And these boards are being nailed directly to the bottom side of the rafters of the porch. In total, I believed we placed 5 rows of nails. There are going to be 4 lights out here, so when we got to a rafter bay that had an electrical box, we would drill a hole that was roughly centered under the box to give the Romex a place to be poked through. And unlike the shop, I didn't include outlets in the ceiling out here, so the lights will simply be hardwired in. Before repeating the steps to lay down a second row, the guys cut up some scrap 2x material in order to create some nailers. Then I went through and attached these nailers directly to the cedar beams. This will give us a place to nail the decking material to on the end closest to the cedar beams. And even though these pieces are shorter and lighter, it was still easier for 3 people to be on the lift. Now though, the guys could handle holding it while I nailed it. And while it's never fun to work over your head all day, this step really didn't take as long as I expected. We were able to get 2 pieces from 1 sheet. So the guys would cut 4 or 5 sheets at a time, then we would be able to very quickly toss them up. While the guys were making more cuts, I would keep busy by moving the lift down and caulking the seam between the first and the second row. Again, using that Titebond MP sealant here. Once all the material was attached, it was just the final details like wiring in the 4 speakers, the 4 lights, adding in the trim, and doing a little finish caulking and painting to make it all look nice and tidy. It is so hard to believe, but I think that concludes the shop building series. This has been the most challenging, exhausting, and stressful thing I've ever done. But if you take all 3 of those and add them up, it still does not win over the excitement and sense of accomplishment that this has given me. It was well worth it. Gives me goosebumps. After sheathing the inside walls, I was talking to a friend and said I was exhausted. He responded with, "I bet, you just got done climbing Mount Everest." And as soon as I heard that, I knew that was my shop's name, Everest. I truly appreciate all of y'all's support and encouragement through this series. I hope that you've enjoyed it. And more than that, I hope that you have been inspired by it. Maybe not to tackle building a giant shop, but just to approach whatever it is that you're setting out to do with confidence and determination. Even if you are heart beating fast just thinking about it, intimidated by it. Before wrapping up the video, I have to say a big thank you to my small but fierce team that helped me make this happen. Whether it be lining up rental equipment, picking up material, keeping me fed, or giving me a very long days full of their effort. I could not ask for a better support system on this. So, big thank you to my husband Cody, my mom and dad, Brian and George. So stay tuned if you want to see me using my shop. Thank you again for all of the support. That's a wrap.